Muy buenos días a todos mis compañeros de América Latina, de ASMI. Yo soy Tomás Casadevall del Servicio Geológico de Estados Unidos y hoy voy a presentar una pequeña charla sobre el tema de geopatrimonio en los Estados Unidos y más que todo el papel del Servicio Geológico de Estados Unidos. Este es un mapa. Primero es que voy a presentar en inglés, así que desde aquí en frente hablamos en inglés. This is a geological map of North America prepared by the US Geological Survey. And for those of you who are not geologists in the audience, you will notice many colors. These colors are expressions of geological rock types and ages of geological formations. And we refer to this variety of information as geodiversity. So geodiversity is typically well expressed in geologic maps. Three terms that we'll use in this talk: geodiversity, geoheritage, and geoconservation. So the United States is a country with great geodiversity expressed in its range of rock types and ages, its mineral deposits, its fossils, its soils, its landforms, and geological processes. We see this geodiversity well expressed in our geological maps and cross-sections. Where this geodiversity is expressed in unique ways, we recognize it for its heritage values. We call this geoheritage, in Spanish, Geopatrimonio. And we manage these elements of our geodiversity for their geoheritage values. This geodiversity provides the foundation for special habitats and associated ecosystems, which support our nation's rich biodiversity. In the United States, geoheritage has historically been linked to our national park system and other federal public land agencies. The preservation of geological features were the reasons for establishing many of the United States national parks. And conservation of this geologic heritage is through our parks, monuments, and other protected landscape designations. Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming was the first national park established in the United States in 1872, and it's often referred to as the first national park in the world. This map shows the United States with a variety of color symbols, and those colors, particularly on the western side of the United States, on the left side of this map, show the federal lands we call protected lands. These can be national parks and monuments. These can be forests. They also include Indian reservations, as shown in red. Public lands agencies in the United States that manage geologic heritage include these four major agencies: National Park Service, the Forest Service, Fish and Wildlife Service, and the Bureau of Land Management. The U.S. National Park Service is the premier geoheritage managing agency in the United States. We have 423 National Park Service sites, including several you'll recognize here, like Mesa Verde or Arches or the Statue of Liberty in New York. The United States also includes 24 World Heritage Sites. Many of these are also U.S. national parks. For example, Carlsbad Caverns National Park in New Mexico, the Grand Canyon National Park in Arizona, the Wrangell St. Elias Volcano and Glacier National Park, which is actually a binational park shared between United States and Canada. In addition to the National Park Service, managing geologic landscapes falls to our Native American tribes, the other federal agencies I've mentioned, to state and local agencies, and to private partnerships. Here's an example of Shiprock Peak on the Navajo Nation in northwest New Mexico, a beautiful volcanic neck with a radiating dike. The U.S. Forest Service manages 2 of our important national volcanic monuments, including one in the state of Oregon at Newberry and one in the lower right at Mount St. Helens volcano in Washington state. I include these because my background as a scientist is in the volcano sciences, and so I'm particularly partial to protected landscapes of volcanic features. Another one managed by the Bureau of Land Management is managed jointly with the Cochiti Pueblo, which is a Native American group in New Mexico. And here you see some very young volcanic tuffs in northern New Mexico at the Tent Rocks National Monument. Let's talk now a little bit about the U.S. Geological Survey, who we are, and a little bit about our background. We have more than 8,000 full-time employees, more than 10,000 part-time and contractors, so our total workforce is more than 10,000 people. We have offices in more than 50, in all 50 states, more than 400 offices. And the 2020 budget for the U.S. Geological Survey was in excess of $1.2 billion US dollars. The U.S. Geological Survey is organized by what we call mission areas. And there are 5 distinct mission areas that we use. Our primary discipline skills include geologists, biologists, hydrologists and water experts, and also biologists who are very involved with a number of biological issues that the U.S. Geological Survey manages. But we have 5 mission areas: energy and minerals, our ecosystems mission area, what we refer to as the core system science mission area, which really refers to a number of activities that support the full U.S. Geological Survey. So for example, geologic mapping, our topographic mapping, the biological aspects of the science that we do are included in what we call core science systems. A 4th mission area is the natural hazards area, and this includes things that you'll recognize like earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, landslides, flood events. And then our 5th mission area, and the largest mission area for us by personnel, is our water resources mission area. A little bit about background pertinent to the geoheritage theme. The U.S. Geological Survey was established in 1879, and the wording in the Organic Act of 1879 is that the USGS is directed to classify the public lands and to examine the geologic structure, mineral resources, and products within and outside the national domain. In 1934, Congress passed the Outdoor Recreation Act, and that act specifically instructs the USGS to undertake studies concerning outdoor recreation, to cooperate with educational institutions to assist in establishing education programs and activities, and to encourage public use and benefits from this outdoor recreation. So what's unique about the USGS? First of all, we provide the nation with science and data to address national problems of importance. The U.S. Geological Survey does not manage any lands or assets. We do not regulate access or movement of people, and we don't enforce any public laws. So the USGS is truly the nation's natural science agency. That science we carry out in an interdisciplinary form. And our theme really is that science for a changing world. In this changing world, we recognize that nature includes biodiversity and geodiversity. In short, we can say the USGS is more than rocks and minerals. However, these rocks and minerals set the stage for all of nature and its biodiversity. We also recognize that things can change rapidly, sometimes with frightening consequences when earthquakes and volcanic eruptions occur, when landslides occur and slopes fail, and when flood events happen. So this ties into the hazards theme or the hazards mission area of the USGS. The USGS has no formal program in geodiversity or geoheritage or geoconservation. However, USGS data and scientific results form the basis and background for many geoheritage efforts in the United States. Some examples are USGS geologic maps are the basis and the geological underpinning for all of the National Park Service monuments and parks. Another example is that USGS studies into the effects of climate change form the basis for evaluating changes to national parks, national seashores, and also protected landscapes at the state and local level. A third example is the study of geological hazards, earthquakes, landslides, floods, volcanic eruptions. These underpin assessments of geological hazards at national parks and monuments. Another example is that USGS social scientists, and yes, the USGS has a large group of social scientists who carry out a number of important annual studies, including the annual visitor economic impact assessment of all national parks and monuments. So this gives you a flavor, I hope, that while we don't specifically have a program in geodiversity, geoheritage, or geoconservation, we very much provide data and scientific results that form the background for many geoheritage efforts in the United States. Let's look at some examples. This is a recently published geologic map for Big Bend National Park on the Texas-Mexico border, or the United States-Mexico border in Texas. And it was done in support of the National Park Service. So not only do you look at the beautiful colors or the tapestry of the geology as expressed in this geologic map, which is the geodiversity in Big Bend, but you also can see a variety of habitat types that depend on that geology. Once again, remember, geodiversity underpins and supports biodiversity. Another example, this is Long Island off the coast of New York, very close to New York City. And this is a coastal vulnerability index for the Fire Island National Seashore, a National Park Service site. And USGS scientists have modeled the changes in sea level that are expected as we continue with climate change. And we've identified this and called it the Coastal Vulnerability Index. How vulnerable are features in the Fire Island National Seashore to changes in climate change? Once again, another volcano picture. This is from Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, which is also a World Heritage Site. Once again, the U.S. Geological Survey carries out the monitoring of volcanic activity at the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park and at more than 30 other national parks in the United States. So geologic hazards, studies carried out by the USGS in support of the National Park Service system. And my final example, I mentioned that each year, the US Congress requires that the National Park Service report on the economic impacts of visitors coming to our national parks and monuments. That annual report is carried out by social scientists of the US Geological Survey. And here you can see the release of the report in 2016, more than 35 billion US dollars added to the economy because of national park visitation. Once again, this work is carried out by scientists of the USGS. Finally, I'd like to just mention to you the US Geoheritage Advisory Group. This group operates under the auspices of the U.S. National Academy of Sciences, and we have several goals. First, we work with state geological surveys and interested communities to promote and develop geoheritage projects and products. Secondly, we advise the National Academy of Sciences on matters related to geologic heritage. And finally, we represent the United States interest on the global geoheritage scale. And one example of that is the invitation extended to me today to speak on behalf of U.S. geoheritage to our group here in Latin America. I'm very pleased to be an observer member of this group. And finally, I want to say that we just completed the publication and carried out a workshop on America's geoheritage. Those of you with your phones, or if you want to write down the web address, this report was just published about 3 weeks ago. It was strongly supported by both the National Park Service and the U.S. Geological Survey, as well as other agencies that you can see on this diagram. But it's a wonderful snapshot, if you will, of where we are in the United States today with regard to our geoheritage efforts. And I would strongly encourage you to take a look at this report. I will say the report is going to be translated into Spanish. The Spanish translation is not yet available, and hoping it will be available in the coming months, and we'll certainly communicate that information with you. So finally, I want to say muchísimas gracias a todos y por información, más información sobre el Servicio Geológico de Estados Unidos. Ustedes pueden contactar directamente a mí por este web address de Casadevall, el USGS.gov, o mi colega Gustavo Bispal at gbispalusgs.gov. Otra vez, muchísimas gracias a todos y estoy disponible para tus preguntas y una discusión. Muchísimas gracias.